one crucified with the thieves in this land where man's persecuted for what he believes. So gather away from the sinking sand or face the penalty. Change the way you be thinking, man. Cause Jah enemies control the population with drug and diseases. Got my people acting evil, strung out on needles, waiting for Jesus. Once made in the image of God, who turned savages, get murdered by the government gang with silver badges. Them Babylon to them a gang for Giuliani. Them see you hang, slang, and bang bang like in Pulani. With the older spirits above me. One day y'all motherfuckers gon' pay, cause Allah don't like ugly. Take a look through the eyes of a disciple. Walk inside of my footprints in the sand. Understand my life's in the Bible. It's been long suffering since my arrival. Let my life struggles and what I accomplish be the compass for your survival. Take a look through the eyes of a disciple. Walk inside of my footprints in the sand. Understand my life's in the Bible. It's been long suffering since my arrival. Let my life struggles and what I accomplish be the compass for your survival.
I think he's a Muslim brother, alhamdulillah. He wants to have a quick discussion with us about giving effective da'wah, inshallah. Machine Lies, assalamu alaikum.
Hey, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Oh, mashallah. I just saw your show here the other day, or I saw you on a show with a brother named Jake, the Muslim metaphysician. And,
yeah, that's my teacher. That's my bro.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because I was seeing some of his arguments. I saw his debate with James White and some of the other things. And, I got me and my little brother here, we make a show called The Machine Lies. Mm-hmm. And you guys can find it on YouTube there. And we talk about, the show is not especially focused on Islam. It's actually focused on the philosophy of technology,
nice.
Which is like a subject we came into. And I wrote this book recently on topics of theology. You guys can find it on the internet. It's called Christ, Protagonist, or Logos Dethroned. And it's a book, it's a book really on philosophy and theology and the relationship between the two. And a lot of it is centered around the notion of Christianity and the historical roots of Christianity and Islam and those things. So we do talk about some of that stuff on our channel. And I wanted to reach out to some of the brothers here, who are trying to give dawah here and, see if I could, maybe be of assistance or, try to promote some of the work that I'm doing, because I think it's on a kind of taking it in a different direction.
Okay. I mean, I'm always open to like new ways and new ideas and new ways to basically flank the people that we're having discussions with. Do you have a link or something that you could put in a private chat here and I could share it for anybody that would like me to maybe like order the book? Can we find it on Amazon?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not interested in selling books really. Is there on Amazon if anybody wants to go find it? Inshallah, if anybody is really, really interested, I'll just send the book to you for free. And, we could just, talk more about that. If anybody wants to send me a message or anything like that. I am there on Twitter too. You can message me on Twitter. My name is the same on Twitter, called The Machine Lies. And essentially the main topic of my book was about St. Paul, the apostle, the false apostle, kind of coming by and how he essentially, it seems to me that St. Paul invented his own sect of Christianity. And
I think
and my own
Christianity itself.
well, you have early Christians like Peter and stuff like that, and I feel like it's interesting that Paul had a disagreement with Peter and kind of questions like that, kind of questions of focus, we narrow in on, and other aspects of Paul, like his connections with the Roman elite. So we kind of talk about those things, and the reason it was presented to me was because I had I was studying at the university with a professor by the name of Dr. David Skrbina, and he was teaching philosophy of technology, but he decided to write a book called The Jesus Hoax, in which he said that Paul made up Christianity. And so I walked up to him. I said, I see a lot of Muslim theologians claiming the same thing when they debate Christians, that Paul made up Christianity. So we were talking about Nietzsche's Antichrist, because Nietzsche wrote this book called Antichrist.
Yeah.
And yeah. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with the book Antichrist by Friedrich Nietzsche.
I briefly looked at it when I was an atheist, just because I was becoming a very heavy nihilist, and Friedrich Nietzsche is the guy to go to when it comes to nihilism. So,
well, I study philosophy. I think Nietzsche took a strong stance against nihilism. I know.
Point, yeah, he was deep into nihilism and then did a 180.
Yeah, and that's the Nietzsche that I read. The later Nietzsche of Beyond Good and Evil, and Genealogy of Morals, and Antichrist, and that stuff. And he's got a very interesting section. I don't know if anybody, the whole book is just kind of, some of it's BS, because he's talking about Buddhism and all these, crazy heretical concepts, but then he starts talking about Christianity, and in sections 58 through 60, he describes how Paul made up the religion of Christianity, and how he made it to actually persuade the Romans against being this kind of powerful class of people, and how he wanted to dissuade them from their rules of power. It was kind of a act of ideological subversion on his part, to kind of Judaize the Romans, and this is kind of how he became, quote unquote, apostle to the Gentiles, because he's kind of spreading the message to people who aren't familiar with Judaism to start out with. So he's got a one up there, because he's spreading the message to people who are kind of the rabble of Rome. So they're already dissuaded against Roman power, and then he's presenting to them this new, kind of universal mode, and he's using their own philosophy to do it. It's not hard to see how Paul uses Greek philosophy, especially in the dialectic he paints between spirit and flesh. It's almost like you find this nowhere in the Quran or the Old Testament or any such literature, that there's such a heavy or stark duality between spirit and flesh. It says in the Quran that Allah is closer to us than our jugular vein. So Allah is closer to us than even ourselves, in a way. And Allah is more real than the body, and there's no separation between Allah and spirit, or Allah and anything that's going on in the world. So I think that's interesting how he creates this stark duality, and then that goes back to Platonic philosophy. And I think it's interesting that Nietzsche says in section 60 of or actually I think it's 59, he actually says that Islam should have conquered Europe, because Islam supported more the modern sensibilities of the world than even the Greco-Roman civilization did. And it's interesting because he's known as such a person that promotes Greco-Roman civilization, But then he actually says that Islam is actually that the culture of the Moors was far superior to that of Greece and Rome.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is fascinating for somebody who's learned in Greek, somebody who's actually the epitome of Western thought, to actually come to that conclusion that the most disastrous thing for Europe, he actually says Christianity and alcohol have been the major downfalls of European society. so I mean, and he said that Islam would have been the solution of them. And then at the end of the section, he says there should be no more choice between a Christian and a Muslim than there is between a Jew and an Arab. And he said the choice is already made, because obviously you would rather do business with an Arab than a Jewish person. So I don't know what to make of that, but he says that at the end of the thing. He says, look, Christianity represents the old Jewish religion, whereas Islam represents something that's more tribal, something that's actually a remedy to the kind of the universalism that's promoted in European society. That's the cause of things like liberalism. So he actually blamed Christianity as the root cause of liberalism itself. This is one of the topics I talk about in my book.
I'd be curious what Daniel Hakikachu, his views on that are, because I think he has a strong opinion on that.
Yes, I would love to contact him and ask him what his opinion would be on that.
I can get you guys in contact. I speak to him, so I can get you guys in contact if you want to try and get something put together.
Yeah, especially because I've seen 2 or 3 discussions on his channel about technology, centered around the use of technology and how it's eroding.
If you look at his the Genius of Islam series, he's got like a 3-part video. That first video talks about liberalism and how technological advances is supposed to be this virtue, this goal that we're pushing towards, when really it's just making us more and more closer to just mindless drones, and eventually technology is going to advance to the point that we're no longer, we're going to be so lazy that we don't even want to need to lag our bodies around and upload consciousness into certain computers. It's crazy. Check that out if you get a chance. It's on Muslim Skeptics channel. It's a playlist series called The Genius of Islam. Just watch that first 20-minute video and you'll be right there with him. I can tell.
Yeah. We talk about those issues on my channel too. And we start by defining what is technology itself, and looking at, because the process of creation itself is dealing with metaphysics, but the process of technology itself is dealing with framing information, encoding information. So it's dealing with putting things that are physical into a non-physical space. And so it's actually working the opposite of the process of creation in terms of metaphysics. So it's interesting how technology is actually related to the use of fire. And we say that if we're melding things in inorganic material, that also relates to ethereal spirits like jinn and stuff like that. So I think that there is some type of link there between how we create things, or how we try to supersede nature and try to create things, and how it's erasing our traditions. We know that technology is spreading around the world, is spreading international culture, and that international culture, world, culture, is produced by mass-produced, homogenized monoculture. that's spreading all around the world. And all you have to do is give your kid a cell phone for them to participate in it. So, this is kind of the problem is how do we organize our Muslim communities? Because this is kind of the issue of technology is sapping human traditions. And I think that would be one of the main, one of the main issues for us going forward. But Daniel Hakikachu, the brother, puts the problem. See, this is why I would want to talk to him, because he puts the problem in the 16th century development of secular learning, whereas the problem is really in the 2nd century, in the development of the church authority centered around Paul. Because in the collapse of Rome, you have the spread of Christianity to Europe. And that's when you have all sorts of issues because the Pauline corpus is used to justify all sorts of things, like the separation between church and state. And it's used to bolster the spread of Plato and Aristotle, which the root of secular learning is really in Plato and Aristotle.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that we really actually see that how much the formulation of the Christian doctrine that, actually I had a debate recently on a channel called The Crucible. One thing I will link you guys to is this debate I did recently with an Albanian brother, and it was on the fall of man, on a channel called The Crucible.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially he had presented to me before an icon, and I don't know if you guys know what icons are, but they're these pictures of these venerated saints that they have in the inside of the Orthodox theology. And I guess we would consider them idols, and basically they just paint pictures of Jesus and all these holy spirits and stuff. And one of the things they have is lined up. They have icons of Plato, Aristotle, Homer, and all of the supposed pre-Christian doctrines that they espoused.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that when you get to a thinker like Alfred North Whitehead, you see that him saying that all of Western learning is a footnote to Plato. Plato explored every philosophical argument that we know today. But the problem is that once you use reason to figure out the universe, you come up with the God of the philosophers, and it's not similar to the God of theology. And theology, and by theology I mean the one true religion, which is Islam. It doesn't seem similar to that. You get natural philosophy, you get natural science, and you get natural theology, which is ultimately the God of the philosophers is deistic. It's impersonal, it's immaterial, and this is all things that in the 11th century, Imam Ghazali took issue with these things.
Mm-hmm.
But on the basis of his rejection of Aristotelianism. But we see people like St. Thomas Aquinas and Maimonides on the Jewish side. They're just reaffirming the arguments of Avicenna and these types of things that and they're making this unnecessary split between essence and existence to explain their philosophical takes. And this split between necessary and contingent, where and that's another thing I wanted to talk to Jake, the metaphysician, the brother from New Jersey, and Daniel Hakikachu, the Iranian brother, about, because I feel like sometimes we're putting the emphasis on the wrong historical event or thing, because we would not have anything called Western learning without the spread of Christianity to Europe.
Yeah.
You know, and then that affirms the teachings of a certain amount of people. You have, in one way, Western learning is like two heads of the same coin, and one is Plato and the other is Aristotle. And if you go the way of Plato, you say everything is math and abstract concepts, and if you go the way of Aristotle, you say everything is science and empirical discovery. So it's just two halves of the same coin. And whichever way we go, if we see the world as a summation of these two aspects, this dual system, then we're going to end up with secular learning anyways. So, you know, and since this is so strongly affirmed by Paul, because Paul is a master of dialectical thought, you know, he provides a separation between flesh and spirit. He's in bed with the Roman elites. You know, Paul says in Romans 16:11 that Herod, who's seen as the enemy of Christ and his disciples, is his kinsman. You know, he says, Herod, my kinsman. You know, and you know, he's in bed with people like Epaphroditus, who Epaphroditus.
Let me ask: is all this stuff in your book that you have, or do you have a book with?
Yeah, all that stuff sure is in my book. Yeah, the book itself is 444 pages long.
Okay. Really? Okay.
So yeah.
I actually want to take you up on that. If you could send me an email at eadawa@gmail.com, I would love to get a copy of that and take a look at it, and may even have you on for like an interview. We could do a whole entire episode where you could come on and like talk about the book and kind of give people like a whole rundown on it. That could actually push it out a little bit, you know, get you some advertisement and actually learn a lot more. I do have two more guests in the back waiting, but if anybody's interested, if you can, I'll just have you put the link to whatever links that you want to put out to like your YouTube channel, so people can come and visit and subscribe to your channel. And if you want to put out a link to the book, I'll share that in the side chat. But brother, it was awesome talking to you. You seem like you got like a bunch of knowledge, and I need to pick your brain. So
Thank you, brother.
Especially on the philosophical side.
Yeah, send me your email there, and I'd love to chat with you more. I'm glad to meet you, and I'd love to know more about your views as well, brother Khalil.
Absolutely, yeah. So when it comes to like arguments for the existence of God, the contingency argument that Jake uses, I use the same one. Actually, Jake the Muslim Metaphysician, and have you seen like Thought Adventure podcast? Do you know those other brothers?
Yes, yes, I watched a little bit of it. Yeah, recently, very recently.
Before they ever had a YouTube channel, before anybody knew who they were, I was an atheist debating them and attempting for a year and a half debating those brothers specifically. Every single day of the week was hours and hours debating these guys. And subhanallah, like you can actually go to their channel and see, I think there's the video when when an atheist becomes a theist. And also my shahada is on there because I did my shahada on their channel because they were the brothers that helped bring me there. So check that out. But definitely, I appreciate it, brother. There's the email right there. I put it in the private chat for you right there. But eadawa@gmail.com. Send me everything. I'll put you in the back and bring the next guest up. But while you're in the back waiting, if you want to put the links to your channel and stuff, I'll show it out and share it in my live chat right now, inshallah.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah, brother. I'll definitely send the book over right now. Yeah,
absolutely.
You have a blessed one. Yeah,
Assalamu alaikum.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah. All right.
Interesting guy.
Yeah, that was very interesting, and the chat seemed to like him too. All right, let's see. All right, let's take.
My foes get marinated. Knowledge is infinite. My mind stays saturated. I hang with pharaohs with crossbows and arrows. Knights with shields that ride horses with saddles. Real philosophy revealing ill prophecies. My ways and actions shows and prove true equality. We conquer continents, hemispheres, and land masses. All you ever get is stage passes. So you wanna be an entertainer, vocal arranger. Step inside the battle zone, prepare for danger. It's us against 1,000 men. Who's the remainder? Royal you fan, Wu-Tang Clan, the hidden chamber. While you be eating pork, my thoughts be traveling through galaxies. Excalibur professional, flowing gradually, I battle thee. Who goes there? Brave heart, executioners dressed in war gear, we never fear. Lungs expand when I inhale, sentences make sense, lyrics giving details, snakes in the mall, oratorical, assault, entourage attack. Your religion's caught vor, infection starts, inject hearts with poison darts. It's the Ming Dynasty, master of royal arts, hidden chambers. My third eye preparing for the third world. Put your fists up, I'm making moves with my bishop, so seize them. Intruders trespassing quarters, commence the revolution on the mic, these are the orders. Medina lords, crowns and swords be the symbols. The underground passageway leads into the temple, so send a message, request the general for duties. A thief near the castle want the emeralds and rubies. Round up the soldiers, protect the main gate section. A fleet of royal men throwing spears in all directions. Release the cannons, let off, set off the firearms. Evacuate the premises, explode them with the